There's a house on the edge of a small town that nobody will buy. Not because it's ugly, not because it's falling apart, because every family that's ever lived there has left in the middle of the night, and not one of them will say why. I've spent the last few weeks digging into stories like this. Houses a town just stops talking about. Where the for sale sign disappears one day and nobody ever puts up a new one. And out of everything I've found, 3 of these stories wouldn't leave me alone. Okay, quick honesty check before we get into this. I'm not a ghost hunter. I don't own anything that beeps in the dark. I just like finding stories that don't add up. The kind where everyone in a town tells it to you almost word for word. Like they agreed on a version of the truth a long time ago and stuck to it. That's usually the first sign something actually happened there. So I went digging. Old newspaper clippings, property records, a few forum posts from people claiming to be former neighbors, and 3 houses kept surfacing. 3 different states, decades apart from each other. Different houses, different families, nothing connecting them on paper, but the same strange pattern every single time. Real quick, if you're the kind of person who likes digging into stuff like this, stick around and subscribe. I put these together every week, and honestly, some of the ones I haven't posted yet are worse than what you're about to hear. Let's start with the first one. Story 1, The House That Counted. Locals just call it the Whitmore Place. It's a 2-story farmhouse at the end of a gravel road, paint peeling down to gray wood. Been standing since the 1920s. Nothing about it looks like it should be a story. At first, honestly, nothing about it was. A family named Reyes moved in back in the early 90s. Husband, wife, 2 kids, normal sale, normal listing, nothing weird on paper. But then I found a forum post from someone claiming to be a neighbor's son, and one line in it stuck with me. He said the Reyes family only lasted 41 days in that house, not a few weeks. 41 exact. And once I saw why that number mattered, I couldn't stop thinking about it either. The youngest daughter, she'd have been about 7, started telling her mom that someone in the house was counting. Not talking, not whispering, counting. She said she'd hear it at night from inside the walls. A number, a pause, the next number. Slow, patient, like whoever it was had nowhere else to be. I didn't think much of it at first. Kids say strange things, right? Easy to write off. But then the mother started hearing it too. She described a man's voice, low, almost bored, and here's the part that actually got to me. The count never reset. Every night, it picked up exactly where it left off the night before. Like something was keeping a running total of how long they'd been there. The more I looked into it, the more the whole story seemed to hinge on that number. Because neighbors say the family left on day 41. The same morning, the daughter woke up saying the voice had finally said something that wasn't a number. Just one word. Almost. They were gone by nightfall. Left the furniture, left the girls' toys, didn't even stop for the mail on the way out. Nobody stayed there longer than a few weeks since. And here's the detail that still bugs me. That house is on the market again right now. The listing doesn't mention any of this, obviously. But it does casually mention some settling and unexplained sounds in the walls, typical of an older property. Typical, sure. Story 2. The House That Moved the Furniture. This next one made the local paper, twice actually, so there's a bit more to go on. A colonial-style house, dark green shutters sitting on a quiet corner lot. I'll call the family the Halversons, since that's the name that keeps showing up in the accounts. At first, their story is almost boring to tell. New house, growing family, nothing off about it at all. Then about 6 months in, the mom starts noticing something small. A dining chair that won't stay pushed in. She'd tuck it under the table every night, and by morning it'd be pulled out again. Just a couple of inches. Barely anything. She figured someone in the family was doing it without thinking. Honestly, that's what I'd have assumed too. But then it wasn't just the chair. A rug that would be dead straight at night and crooked by morning. A picture frame that kept turning up face down on the shelf no matter how many times she stood it back up. I didn't think much of it either, reading through this part. Houses shift. Things move on their own for boring reasons all the time. But then something happened that actually got written up. One morning, the entire living room was rearranged. Not knocked over, rearranged. Couch moved to the opposite wall. Coffee table flipped upside down in the corner. All 6 dining chairs lined up in a perfect row facing the front door. Like something had set them up for someone to walk in. The dad's first thought was a break-in. But nothing was missing. No broken windows, no forced entry, nothing. And that's when things got weird in a different way. Not just the house, but the family itself. The parents started quietly accusing each other of pulling some kind of prank. Then it was the kids' fault. Then nobody would admit it was them. Nobody in that house trusted anyone else in that house anymore. And honestly, I think that might have been the whole point. They put up cameras, cheap ones, grainy nighttime footage, the kind everyone had back then. Weeks went by, nothing. Until one night, the footage shows the living room completely still and empty at 2 a.m. Then, sped up in the clip they eventually shared, over the next 4 hours, every piece of furniture in that room slowly repositions itself. No hands, no shadows. Just objects sliding inch by inch into new places, like watching a room rearrange itself in time-lapse. They were out within the month. Here's the strange part, though. A new family moved in 2 years later, and they reported the exact same thing, but only for the first 6 months. Then it just stopped. Like whatever it was lost interest or got what it needed. Nobody's ever figured out why 6 months seems to be the number it cares about. Story 3. The house nobody remembers moving into. This last one unsettled me the most. It's also the hardest to pin down because almost nobody agrees on the details. Brick house. Quiet cul-de-sac, the kind of place you'd drive past 1,000 times and never think twice about. Except it's changed owners 11 times in the last 30 years. 11. For an ordinary suburban house, that number alone is strange. So I went looking through old neighborhood posts, trying to find someone who'd actually lived there. And that's where the story stopped making sense. Every single person who claims to have lived in that house describes the exact same thing. Not a ghost, not a noise in the night. Something stranger than that. They all describe waking up one morning, weeks, sometimes months after moving in, with no memory of actually moving in. Read that back, because I had to read it twice myself. They remember touring the house, they remember signing the paperwork. But the actual move, the boxes, the first night sleeping there, is just gone. Like a chunk of film got cut out and spliced back together. One person, who says they lived there in the early 2000s, described it like waking up from a nap and realizing 3 months had passed. Fully unpacked, furniture arranged, life already settled in, and no memory of any of it happening. What bothered me more was what came after. They started noticing small differences. A door that used to be on the left side of a room, they were sure of it, now on the right. A window in the guest room they didn't remember ever seeing before. Small enough that you could talk yourself out of it, until it wasn't small anymore. One family found a second staircase, not hidden, just there in plain sight, leading up to a room they'd never used and had no memory of ever noticing. Despite living in that house, by their own account, for almost a year. The strange thing is, nobody in these accounts describes fear. Not at first. They describe confusion. A quiet wrongness, like reality, had been edited slightly while they weren't looking, and they were the only ones who noticed the scene. Every story ends the same way. They leave. Quietly, quickly, without really explaining it to anyone, including themselves. And the house goes back on the market again. I pulled up the current listing before making this video. Ordinary photos, 3-bed, 2-bath, updated kitchen. Nothing unusual. Except in one of the hallway photos, there's a door at the far end that doesn't show up anywhere on the floor plan. I've looked at that photo more times than I probably should admit. I don't have some clean answer that ties all 3 of these together. I wish I did. But there's a pattern I can't shake. In every one of these stories, it's never a scream or a shadow that finally makes people leave. It's something quieter than that. A number that keeps counting. Furniture that keeps moving. A door that shouldn't exist. Small things. Patient things. The kind that don't need to scare you all at once because they've got time. They can just wait for you to notice on your own at 3 in the morning that something in your house has been paying very close attention to you. And once you notice that, you can't really unnotice it. If you've ever lived somewhere that felt like it was keeping track of you, I'd genuinely like to hear about it. Drop it in the comments. I read all of them, even the ones that are hard to believe. And if this kind of thing gets under your skin the way it gets under mine, subscribe. I've got more of these coming. Some I honestly wasn't sure I should post, because somewhere out there, there's probably a house doing exactly this, right now, to someone who just hasn't noticed yet.